Good morning and welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey toward publication. I am Jennifer Carl Tong and I write historical Christian romance.
Hi, I'm Christina Catane and I write in multiple genres, including Christian fiction.
I'm Rhonda Hagerman and I write fiction and nonfiction.
And I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Fine Thursday morning. This is a part of our podcast where we join each other in sharing what's going on with our lives, both professionally and personally. So, Tina, how about you get us started this morning?
Well, we've been doing this office hours thing, and that's working out really good for me. And I had something I was struggling with yesterday, and had a breakthrough on my story, so I'm happy.
Yay!
That's awesome. And are you feeling better because you have been sick?
I think I'm feeling a little bit better, but I still get into these coughing jacks. So if I go mute, that is why.
Or one of us has decided to mute you, since we just figured out we can randomly mute each other.
Why'd you tell her?
Go ahead, Tina.
No, never mind.
Yeah, she was the original muter, I think is what she was going to say. Because yesterday I looked up and I'm like, who muted me? And the little thing tattled on her and it said, Christina Catane has muted you. Well, she said that the sound of my keyboard, clackety, clackety, clack, was getting on her last nerve. So she had to, so we're like, what? You can just mute people? And yes, you can. You can randomly.
But unfortunately, that person can unmute themselves, because we thought this could be a really good control game during the podcast. But no, you can unmute yourself. So
well, and I thought I was only muting her in my computer. I didn't know I was muting her.
Fun.
So next time I'll just turn my volume down on my headphones.
All right, Rhonda, what's up with you today?
Well, like Tina, the office hours have been really super helpful for me. And yesterday I had to take my dog to the vet instead of doing office hours. And I really missed it. First of all, I missed all your shining faces. But then also I ended up not writing because I had that excuse to miss. I mean, I didn't want to take the excuse, but I had that excuse to miss it. And I never ended up getting back to the writing. So the accountability really is very important to me. But the other super exciting thing in my life, I'm totally high in life right now. I got my dad's Y DNA results back, and I think I am so close to breaking down a huge brick wall I have in my genealogy, and I will be writing a series of podcasts about that, and blog posts about that. So
that's great. Yeah, because I know that your personal genealogy, you were feeling like you were falling a little bit behind on. That was frustrating to you. So good for you.
Thanks.
That's really awesome because I'm adopted, and so I did the DNA thing, but I have no male relatives that are related to my biological father. So there's no way that I can go in and look at like the past. You know what I'm saying?
You and I should talk.
Okay.
It pays to know a historian.
All right, Jamie, how about you? What's going on with you today?
I'm so excited. Not only am I one proof copy approval away from publishing book 2 in my series, I opened up book 3 the other day and I'm like, I need to get busy. I thought, well, I'll just maybe try a rewrite. And because I had given Jennifer that advice in the postcast to try just rewriting her old sort of trunk novel that she's trying to shape up for publication. I'm like, I'll just maybe try rewriting. But as I was reading, I'm like, I don't hate this. I actually like this. So
wow.
I'm so excited to be once again invested in getting that story fixed up and ready for publication, because I'm excited to see what it is like to have the series out there in a 3-book form. Because I understand that selling books is easier if you have a series. And we'll probably be talking more about that as we talk about the publication process today. But I'm just really glad that I am enthusiastic about this next book, because I never have been in the past. I think I just needed a good solid vacation from it.
So I'm really happy to hear that, because I enjoyed that book. I thought it was going in a really good direction. And I was sad that you were putting it aside because I thought it had great potential. So I'm really happy for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Is that why you were in such a fabulous mood yesterday, Jamie?
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
I was like so glad because I really thought that this was going to be a humongous hurdle to overcome. But I mean, it was totally not forcing myself to like it. It was like, okay, so I'll do a rewrite. So I started to read like, well, I know I'm happy with like the very first sentence, for example, right? And then I just kept reading. I'm like, this is like acceptable. I thought it was trash. So whatever. I'm just really excited.
That's
All right.
awesome.
How about you, Jen? What's going on with you? What's up?
Well, still working on Phoebe, and we are like doing this live, so it's a little bit out of order. Next week's episode we really recorded before this one, so people will be able to, in the postcast, see a chapter that Jamie's talking about that needs to be completely rewritten. So I'm going to try to tackle that today or tomorrow and see how that turns out so that I can submit it for the next postcast after that. So professionally, things are good. I'm moving along with book covers and gonna try to meet up with my editor this week or early next week. And yeah, so that's going really well. Personally, things are good. I have been getting a lot of feedback from people saying, you look really good. And wow, you look like you've gotten good sleep, which I haven't. But so other people might think, oh, that's a nice compliment. But for me, that's like someone who's been sick for a very long time. People don't come up to you and say, you don't look good. They stop saying that when you're sick a long time. They just say encouraging things. And it isn't until you start to come out of that you start to come over the horizon is within sight that, that people compliment you on things like, oh, your skin looks good, or like your eyes don't look droopy today. Are you feeling better? Like things like that you realize, yeah, I am getting better and healthier, and it just makes you feel even better. So I think that my health is kind of coming around the bend, and that's going to only help with my writing too, because then I'm not like focused on the bad health stuff. So yeah, but
well, that's awesome. That's really
Yeah.
good to hear because, you have been struggling for a while. So happy day.
yeah. And I know Jamie likes to tease me about makeup and all that kind of stuff. And she's made comments in newsletters about me being the one, I don't know, like wanting to be in the camera and the spotlight, things like, because she likes to tease me. But just for everyone watching today, the red lipstick is for Jamie because she was a little disappointed that I didn't have any on today. So.
Well, I thought that she was showing up in like a sporty blazer. I'm like, well, look at you with like your sporty blazer. She's like, it's a sweater. Okay. It's a sweater.
It's like it's a yoga sweatshirt kind of a thing. And I'm wearing like this crappy old t-shirt that I'm covering up so you can't tell. Like I am so comfy dressed today. And she's like, act like I'm like putting on airs. And I'm like, seriously? If you really could see me, you'd be like embarrassed. I did brush my hair today, though. There have been podcasts before where I've forgotten to brush my hair before we went live.
I know we are like getting so comfortable with this. I mean, remember when once upon a time, it was like, is my makeup just so? Is the lighting just so? And now we're just kind of feeling a little relaxed, which is
Tina, I can't imagine you've brushed your hair like more than 3 times in your life.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
brush through that. Wow.
Well, I have to wash it and condition it, and it has to be wet.
Like, do you use a hairbrush or do you use like a comb?
White tooth comb.
White tooth comb. Yeah.
I love your hair when it is like curly and big. And that's when you're always trying to flatten it. We've had this conversation before. And I think I had a conversation recently with a friend who looks completely different than me. But I complimented her and I think she felt bad about it. I'm like, just because like you're beautiful the way you are doesn't diminish the way that this person is beautiful or this person is beautiful. Like God has made us all so different. And as women, there's so many different kinds of beauty, but we hate like certain things about ourselves for no reason. Like your hair is gorgeous. Like in the 80s or 90s, really 80s and 90s, like I pay big bucks for perms to get hair like yours. I have pictures. Someday we'll have to do like some sort of retro show for Rhonda and I to pull them out of the pictures because I know we both rocked the big hair.
Yeah, spiral perm. The spiral perm is like, the thing to have.
Just sitting in a chair for 3 hours and it was like $60 at the time. Oh my word.
I paid $150 once. Now, my mom was a working mom, and this is something that she did for me. But when I look back, I would never pay $150 for my child ever hair done. Are you kidding me? My mom's nuts.
What an
Yeah,
amazing segue into our topic for today.
Which is not at all, right? All right. So Jamie's trying to say that Jen's babbling again. That's her polite way.
I think we're all guilty.
Yeah. So anyway, go ahead,
I would
Tina.
just like to add that I did not flatten my hair today, but when I put my headphones on, it flattened it.
Well, your hair is beautiful. I wish you would just know how we could see you, how beautiful we think that you are through our eyes. I wish you could get inside my head and look at yourself.
Amen. I think that's how God feels about all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
I'd agree.
Don't cry. You got makeup on. Don't
I'm
cry.
crying.
What did you say, Rhonda?
I was just saying I agree, but I don't think anybody wants to be inside my head.
I might agree with that one. I've heard it. I've been with you enough times. I don't know I want to be inside there either. All right, today's topic is actually kind of a fun one, I think, because Jamie doesn't think it's fun. We are going to be talking this is what we are going to label one of our In the Trenches episodes, meaning that we don't have all the answers. Like, we've never, ever tried to say that we knew everything, and that's why we have a podcast. No, we have a podcast because when we started out, the very beginning, thinking, I want to write my book. I've got this idea. I want to be a writer. There were no podcasts to help us. There's nothing out there for Christian writers that would kind of take you along the road with them. And that's what we felt like we needed. So we are each 2, 3, 4, 10 years into this journey. And we thought it's time that someone did this. And so we will. So, having said that, you need to understand that we are in the trenches. We're still trying to figure things out. And this week, Jamie has been working on publishing her second novel.
Yay!
So, yay, which is very exciting. So, Jamie, how do you feel the experience has been for you so far this week?
Well, since it's not appropriate to swear on a Christian podcast, I will simply say that it has been challenging. So that's the first thing I will say to kick things off, is that it has been a little bit challenging.
Yeah, we Facebook messaged a bit last night. Rhonda was not on with us, and she said she read it in the middle of the night and was dying laughing because we were throwing around other ideas for the title of this episode, some of which probably would be like not good. But I think we were like, what was some of them?
I would rather be subjected to 45 hours of the TV show Caillou than to learn how to create my own book cover. For example.
I hate Caillou.
Publishing, like receiving a mammogram, but not as enjoyable. Like that. So, all right, Jamie, let's talk about, first of all, what you've been doing this week. Now, you are publishing through Amazon, and they've switched everything into a new format called Kindle Create or
yes.
KDP Create.
Okay, so let's kind of roll back to 2 years ago-ish when I published the first book in the series. There was a way to make your book, because let's talk in really basic terms. Because what happens when you start to think about publishing your book, you can be dragged down rabbit trails of the best way to promote, the best way to do this, and the best way to do that. If you're just like, look, I want my book out there for other people to be able to read it. You just basically have to figure out how to take your file that you've created, your Word document, or however you've been writing your book, and turn it into an ebook, right? Mm-hmm. So once upon a time, there was this online formatting program, which means it would turn your Word document into an ebook. It was called CreateSpace. And that is how I did my first book. It was very simple. And not only did it turn my Word document into an ebook, it also helped me with the formatting so that when I wanted to create print books, those will also be available. And it was linked up to Amazon. So you created this book and click-a-roo, now people can buy it on Amazon. It, in my memory, was such a relatively painless process. Well, CreateSpace was bought by Kindle. And so, there's my book. Rhonda, say words so that you will pop up and they can see.
This is the book that she's talking about right here.
Yes, print copy, in the beautiful thing is you can order a proof. And anyway, that's all the past. So I should stop talking about that because that is not available to people anymore. Now, what Kindle has done, they bought CreateSpace and they sucked my book over into the new thing. That's fine. My book is still available for sale. I haven't had any issues that way. But when it came time to turning my Word document into something to sell on Amazon, this is where we started the whole drama, right? So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about getting my book for sale, published online for people to buy. Okay? So I feel like I've been talking a long time.
No, it's good.
So no?
Okay. Yeah, this is stuff we need to know because like if I am 2 years ago, Jennifer, 2 years ago, I know none of this. Like I've never even heard of CreateSpace. I've never heard of any of this stuff. So this is good. We need to talk about all this stuff before we get into what you've been doing.
Yes. And the very first thing that you will find if you are looking around on the internet is, should you use what Amazon offers you to create this book that you are going to be selling to people? Okay. So this is the first decision that you have to make when you decide you're going to publish a book. And I can tell you, because I did use Amazon's formatting and procedure, that it is super challenging. Now, Jen is a fan of what's called Draft to Digital. So it's another choice. I don't know, Jen, if you're ready to recommend it to people yet because you want to explore it a little bit, or...
No, I would definitely recommend Draft to Digital. I found it very easy to, in order to do my ebook. I've not been on I'm actually bringing the website up right now because I had heard that they were going to be doing a print format as well. But my ebook, which is not on Amazon yet because of book covers, and I don't want to release until book 2 is ready to roll so that like I can make sure that I'm keeping on a schedule. But you can get the book on my website for signing up for free by signing up for my email. So the book that you get there, I completely formatted with Draft to Digital and it looks great. It was super easy. And I had one technical issue, and I emailed them and they solved it immediately. Like their customer service is fabulous. And then all I have to do, I can download an EPUB, I can download a Mobi, which is what Kindle uses. So whether you want to just go on Amazon or you want to go wide to Barnes & Noble and to Kobo and all the other ones, like they have all those formats, which I'm guessing if you go through Amazon, you won't be able to get formats to put to other booksellers. Do you think that's true, Jamie, in your experience?
I will say that has been my experience, but before I will talk about that, but just so you know, when you upload a Word document to any of these programs, such as Draft to Digital, or even if you use the program that they have on Kindle's Kindle Direct Publishing website, you need to be mindful of things like, how are your chapters going to look? So, for example, if you're writing in Word, you are probably doing something like putting the words chapter 2 before you start a new chapter. But you have to be mindful that when you try to turn that into an ebook, there's going to be a little bit of formatting that you may have to take care of. So one of the things that is going to be important to you is how simple is the user interface to make those corrections. Because if you are someone very comfortable with doing things like formatting documents in Word or using editors of text of any kind, you probably won't have any trouble using what Kindle offers you. I will say that if you try to use a program such as Judo, okay, so I uploaded my document to Judo and then I had to go in and find all of my chapter breaks and reformat them using the Judo way of doing it. So do you see what I'm saying? You will probably have a little bit of a learning curve no matter how you're trying to change your book from a readable doc file into a Mobi or an EPUB. So back to Jennifer's question. Once I had used the Kindle Creator to create my ebook, which by the way was super intuitive, it said, is this a chapter heading? You click the button, it turned it into the same chapter heading as all the rest. Like it formatted beautifully. It was very intuitive to use. Love the process of creating the ebook. The problem is the Kindle Creator that they offer to you has no option to then turn that ebook into a printed book. Instead, Kindle offers you what are called templates that you can download into Word or whatever, and then you have to copy and paste your Word document into the template. All of that beautiful formatting it did for you with the title heading and the drop case, which is the first chapter, is non-existent. So any formatting that you do for your ebook does not translate over into any other printable or uploadable form. It is
And
simply,
you would think that that would be something that they would just know that that needs to be done. Like, why would we have to do it twice?
I think they don't want to sell print books. I think they want you to just have ebooks, because otherwise, why would they not make it possible and easy for you to beautifully format a book for print? It's almost like they're like, we will help you make a beautiful ebook, but if you would like to print a book, you're on your own, is how I felt. Even though they did provide a template is not the same as a publishing interface. And without someone just going in and experiencing one, you would not understand what I'm trying to say. Because it's all of those little things that are designed for book publishing that a word processing program is just not going to have. So I had a lot of things to learn, as far as I had to learn about putting in a manual page break to make sure that my formatting of my page, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of stuff that I had to learn. And the whole process, of course, took me much longer than it will take me for future endeavors, I'm sure. First of all, I will possibly start in a program like Judo or Draft to Digital, and hopefully the print book process will be a lot more straightforward. But until then, I just don't know. Something else I need to explore is another indie pub author that I know used, what is the one where it's like a print on demand and it's a really popular one?
Ingram Spark.
No, not that one, but it was Lulu. Okay.
Oh.
So Lulu is where you could just sell books through Lulu, right? Or whatever. But I don't know if then you can take that book and put it for sale on Amazon. I have not explored that option. Again, I did it this way. This was probably not the easiest way a person could publish a book, but this is all about being in the trenches. And so that's why I'm sharing.
So I have a couple questions.
All right.
First of all, what is the cost of each of the, like, we're talking about Judo and we're talking about Kindle Create and we're talking about Draft to Digital. Are all those things free, or do you have to pay for any of them?
Draft to Digital is free.
Is there a premium version, or is the whole thing, is all of the features are?
Yeah, that's a great question. I believe that I don't remember paying anything for it, but I also, in conjunction with BookFunnel, that's how I offer it on my website, is through a app called BookFunnel. But let me look out. Jamie, you address the other while I look that up really quick.
The Kindle, what is it called? Kindle Create or something that I used to make my ebook copy was free. And yes, it is called Kindle Create. And if you are only going to release an ebook, like my short stories, I am not going to print. I have no issue using Kindle Create to create a beautiful, basic ebook. So if you have no interest in selling print copies, that is a cheap and easy way to go. I totally endorse it. But if you ever think you're going to print that book, I think you might want to start out in a publisher document, book publishing program, that will then hopefully help you to also create an ebook format for that same book. Now, the only other thing that I would caution you to be careful of is, now that Kindle has bought CreateSpace, seems to me they're pretty particular about gutters and margins and sizing and blah, blah, blah. So whatever, if you use Draft to Digital, or if you use whatever you use, those proof copies are going to be very important to make sure that your printed book looks the way you think it's going to when it's in your hand. So I would not go live until I've actually looked at what the hard copy is in your hand with any print book that you've uploaded from somewhere else.
And what's the cost of Judo then? Is that free?
I think
also?
It was $30.
$30. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so then, I don't know if any of you have experience with this yet, and so maybe we can't answer this question, but how easy would it be to create your book on another format and then still be able to upload it to Amazon?
In theory, it should be, the uploading part should be simple. Sites like Drafted Digital, which I just checked, is free to use if you decide to use their service to distribute. Like they will get your book into Barnes and Noble, into Amazon, and into Kobo, all these other places. Then they get a little bit, every time you sell a book, they get a little bit back, which is, I think, completely fair because their product is a great product and they've got to make money too. But in theory, it should work because that's what they're supposed to be there for. They're supposed to be able to do all that hard work for you, and then all you have to do is upload it.
Well, I will answer the question in another way. So if you went to Amazon and you said, I'm going to use this KDP editor to edit this Mobi file or whatever that I created in Drafted Digital or that I created in Juto, you're going to be limited because you have to upload a docx, HTML, PDF, or RTF file. So you can't just upload a Mobi or EPUB. So you need to know the difference between the kinds of files that you are exporting from whatever your public. See all these words that I'm using? I'm using export and PDF. And so you see that there is a basic amount of computer savvy that you have to have to be getting into this. I'm not trying to warn people or scare people away. I'm just saying, don't anticipate that your launch day is going to be Friday and you're going to start looking at all this on Wednesday and then, you know, disappoint a bunch of people by setting up this pie in the sky goal. You have to know what challenges you're going to face before you get into it and give yourself enough time to learn.
Which is why I'm a big proponent in that your first book, even though I feel like I believe that you should wait until you have a few books so that you can release on a schedule to get that algorithm at Amazon, that your first book you should really look at as your learning experience. Don't plan on spending a lot of advertising money. Don't plan on doing a whole ton of marketing because you're going to need this book to figure out, like Jamie's doing, figure out how this works, how to do this, and not have that added pressure of, I did this big release date and I've done all this promotion setting up that this is my first release, when it could all like fall apart because you're learning. So
I mean, and you never know too. You can be in the process of uploading and you think you've got it down and poof, there's a typo that 4 people who read your book didn't catch. And then you're like, oh no, because the whole process of getting that new proof copy into your hand is days. So it's just something that everyone should be mindful of. And maybe we need another episode to talk more about this because it's like the time has kind of gotten away and we're really only just kind of barely scratching the surface.
Well, let me ask 2 questions then.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned $30 for that one program. Is that just a one-time purchase or is that per book?
Yeah, and that's a one-time purchase for sure. And look, there's like really expensive ways to do this job and there's really cheap ways to do this job. And I found that the less you pay, the more you need to be dogged and determined and what is the word when you just keep going? Persistent and perseverant to get it done. So if you're going to, usually the more you pay, the more, oh, this thing is wonderful. Jennifer, address Vellum.
yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, I'm glad that you brought that up because it is very true. If you want to save money, you can do that as a self-published author. You can do this with very little funds, but you are going to be putting a lot of your own time and effort into this, of not only doing the work, but learning. It is a whole new school for you, the world of publishing. If you know that you're not technologically savvy, if you know that you don't want that headache, there are other options. The first option and the most expensive is to hire a formatter. You can go to places like Reedsy, REEDSY.com, and that is a website for authors, and everybody on there that you can hire on that website has been vetted by Reedsy. So you know you're not going to get a scam artist. You can find people on there that will format your book. There's another option that a lot of self-published authors use, and I think that this is the route I'm going to go. Even though I have some tech skills, I don't want the hassle. I wanted to spend my time writing, but there is a software called Vellum, and it's created by 2 former employees from Pixar, and it's only available for Mac, but through technology, you can get software that can make your PC like a Mac, so you can use Mac software if you're interested. You just do a Google search for that. But Vellum will do not only ebooks, but it'll do print as well. And if you want to do ebooks, it is it's $200. I say only, but that's a one-time fee for every book you're ever going to publish. If you want to do ebooks and print, it's $250. Now, I know some people are sitting there going, oh, I don't have $250. And I totally get that. But for the life of my books, I already have 4 books about ready to roll. So I take those 4 books and I divide $250 by those 4 books. And now I'm at a much more reasonable, like $65 per book of them. Like basically you put it in and it's one of the most intuitive programs I've been told out there. So it might be a good investment for somebody to do, but it's not for everyone. I mean, if you would rather save the money, then you can definitely do it like Jamie is. 'Cause I'm telling you, Jamie's doing it. She's frustrated right now. It's been a hard week for her. Like she's ready to pull her hair out, and we have a lot of fun joking about how difficult it's been, but she's doing it. So it's not like it's impossible. You just have to weigh the cost makes it easier for me, or the not spending money makes it harder for me.
Yes, and you have to also, my mother-in-law is big on sort of strategies for warding off things like dementia because she lost her mother that way. But anyway, she's like, you need to do stuff with your brain. And I'm not talking Sudokus and crosswords. I'm talking like learn a new language or learn to read music. To keep your brain kind of young. And I'm telling you, this is kind of like learning. This is going to do it for you. My brain is getting younger and younger by the minute, I can tell. But,
it's a diaper at this point.
Yes. Jen, do you know, is there a cost to the mirroring software also to get that Vellum operating on a PC? Do you know offhand?
It is. I think it's like $30, but it goes by the hour. So if you could use that $30 up in 1 month, or you could use it like over 3 months. It depends on how much you're using it. And according to other authors I've spoken to, Vellum is so intuitive. They put their Word document in there and it figured everything out for them. There was very little formatting they had to do. So you could possibly get your book formatted within an hour or 2 and still have all these hours left to do other books.
So Rhonda, I'm sorry, I know you had one more question you had said before, but just when we're talking about formatting, that is something to keep in mind in the future as you are drafting books, just for everybody's information out there. I was rather haphazard because I was writing not really a novel length. It was 30,000 words or less. It was less than 30, 17,000, whatever. But I was dividing my sections, not necessarily chapters, with random methods. So for example, 3 number signs or 3 asterisks or whatever. These, you want to be mindful in the future as you are creating documents that you will hopefully one day publish, to sort of try to standardize those things for yourself. It will make your life a lot easier when you go to convert those spacing. It's easier just to say chapter 2, because publishing programs will recognize chapter 2 as a divider. They won't necessarily recognize 3 number signs in a row as a divider of text. So I don't know who needs to hear that out there, but that was my experience. So Rhonda,
that's interesting because Scrivener, that's one of the ways that it separates your scenes for you when you format is the 3 pound signs. So okay, go ahead, Rhonda.
My other question probably isn't really relevant to most of our audience, so I feel kind of bad about asking, but working with historical societies, a lot of books, we need quantity of books in print, and convincing some of the people who have been in these societies for a long time that ebooks might be the way to go doesn't go very far. So what would you use for, if the majority of what you're doing is printing books instead of ebooks? What would be your preferred platform?
That's a great question, because I do not know. I do not appreciate like a template in Word. That was not a great experience for me as far as formatting a book. I don't know why. I did really appreciate the Juto. It seemed like it was going to be easy, except I knew I needed it to be a certain size because of Amazon's requirements, and my book was really short and blah, 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 blah. So I really don't have a print go-to right now. I still have to find mine. Jennifer, what do you think about a draft to digital, or even like the Lulu type of a situation?
For print? Is that what the
Yeah,
question was?
for
Sorry, I
print,
was
yeah.
looking up one of the
If you're
things that we had asked.
if you're majorly going to be doing print.
See, for me, all right, so this is what I have considered, because I've talked at length with people that would be my target audience. And as a Christian romance author, a great deal of people that read Christian romance are still physical copy people. They're
Yeah.
not ebook readers. It's kind of, I have an older audience. They still really enjoy going to the little corner Christian bookstore and supporting that local stores and like that. So I do think for myself, I am going to go the route of using Vellum, because I would like to go through, not only through Amazon, but I would like to use Ingram Spark to be able to go wide with my print books. I'll probably go exclusive with my ebooks on Amazon, but for my print books, I like to go wide. I'd like to be in Barnes and Noble. I'd like to be able to produce books to have in our local Christian bookstore, which is a great bookstore, very supportive of local authors. So I think that for me personally, it will be worth the investment of $250 for me to be able to do that quickly and efficiently. So
I
So
just wonder.
Vellum is also the printer or just only the formatter?
the formatter. So Ingram Spark would be the printer. I'm sorry. I guess
Okay.
I misunderstood the question. Ingram Spark is there's lots of different printers out there. There's lots of people that'll tell you they'll help you publish your book too. We've had other podcasts about that, so we're not going to address it today. But Ingram Spark is the leader, the industry leader in publishing books. Not only do they help publish books, but they will help you get into Barnes and Noble, libraries, things like that. So they are a book publisher. They are like the independent arm of a larger publishing company that publishes for traditional publishing companies.
Yeah, and I think that again, this is where we need probably a whole separate episode, because it raises a whole big bunch of questions. So if I go with Ingram Spark, what does that mean about my Amazon situation? And I have questions about formatting with Vellum, but then how does that jive with if you want to be Kindle exclusive, well, is it easy to match their formatting? All these questions.
Right.
I think it's just a whole big, brave new world. And as we each move through the publication process, we can report here and let everybody know how it's going.
Yes, we will have an In the Trenches episode when when I hit publish, like for real, with Searching for Anna, because I will be doing Vellum and going through Amazon and Ingram Spark. So we'll be able to compare. I want to get 2 printed copies from each. We'll be able to compare the copies, just so everyone can see like what it looks like and experience like our woes with us as well as our victories. So so we'll definitely do that. And that will be within the next month and a half. So yeah, look forward to that. Yeah.
And I think we talked about too having an In the Trenches one about self-editing, because I'm coming up on that in the next month or two also. So if you're not quite ready to publish, but you're like, okay, how do I go about this self-editing thing? We're going to have your back. We're going to be in there with you.
Hey, Tina, you have your mic sticking way out. Can you bring it in so we can hear you a little bit clearer? Your pretty voice.
Oh, sorry.
That's
we
okay.
did hear what you said though. And yes, that's going to be a really awesome episode, because I mean, here we are talking about publishing. And yes, I think that that's a step that people have to take so that you don't have those typos, because your Kindle will catch them and say, you might want to review your document because you have, however many number of errors, and you go,
oh, it does do that for you.
I mean, they were just spelling catches. They weren't anything grammar-ish. And some of it was someone's name or something that I wanted to ignore, but it did catch them. So
awesome. That's great. All right. Well, Jamie, we appreciate you sharing with us everything that you've been going through this week. I especially appreciate the off-camera antics that you've had with your frustrations. But listen, anyone out there that is watching this podcast and has any questions, I know we've kind of covered a lot, mostly just like explaining like that this is what we've been doing without really giving you a how-to. But if you have any questions, please reach out to us through social media. Twitter is probably one of the fastest way you can find us, because we all pretty much tweet pretty quickly back. Or you can email us at connect@christianindywriters.net. but yeah, reach out to us, ask questions. We'd love to. You could even in the comments below. I've already added a comment on here as Christian Indie Writers. How the software I was talking about, how to turn your PC into a Mac for the software. I put the link in there for the one I'm going to use. So yeah, please reach out to us and let us know what you want to know more about. All right, ladies, that was a good conversation. I know we have a lot more we could talk about that, but that'll have to be for another time because right now it is time for the feeding of the backs.
Woo-woo.
For those of you who are maybe joining us for the first time, this is our feedback time, not our back feed time. Our feedback time where we, right before our podcast starts, we spend 15 minutes doing a writing sprint with some sort of writing prompt. And today we chose 5 words. Well, we had a randomizer pick 5 words for us that we had to use. The goal is to use all 5 in our writing. And we set a timer for 15 minutes and then we write and then we start the podcast. So we've not shared this with each other. This is a raw, unedited piece of work. So when we critique each other, when we share this, we give positive feedback only because we've not had time to edit or improve this. If you want to see how we experience writing group with each other, which is when we submit something that we've been working on, that we've edited, and we're looking for a deep critique, you can join our postcast by going to Patreon and looking us up. And for as little as $2 a month, you could be joining us on the postcast, which is a lot of fun. You really see us. All right, so today you're going to hear our writing that's raw and unedited. Our personalities are raw and unedited on the podcast. That's just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
Amen. So. All right. I did not randomize anybody's names. That's kind of Jamie's thing. So does anybody want to volunteer to go first?
I will.
All right. Great, Tina.
Just tear that Band-Aid off.
Yep.
Yep.
So you're going to recognize these characters.
Oh, let's share the words first. Sorry. Let me do that real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's my fault. So the 5 words were cotton, aware, outlook, appeal, and hunting. All right. So Tina, you said we're going to recognize these characters?
Right. But what's going to happen is for our viewers, when they watch the next podcast, that's when they're going to recognize the characters.
Because we're out of order today. Gotcha.
Right. So when we pre-recorded on Tuesday, I was exploring some characters, and I've continued with those same characters today, but they're actually going to see these first.
Awesome.
This one
Fun
first.
for us, though.
Yeah.
That's all that matters, really. As long as I'm entertained and nothing else matters.
That's right.
Right.
This is all for Jen.
Thank you. I'd love to hear that. Could you say it again? I'm going to record that. I'm going to make that
100% for Jen.
I'm going to make that my call it my
Your life motto. It's all
my
about
ringtone every time Tina calls me. This is all for Jen. All right, go ahead. I'm done. Sorry.
Okay. Charlene put on her cotton t-shirt dress and pulled it down over her hips, covering the tightness of her leggings on her behind. She was aware that she wasn't dressed for leaving the house, but that was fine with her. Susie lay on the couch under a blanket with a book in her hand. She, too, was dressed in a t-shirt and leggings. She put her book down and sat up, picking up her mug of hot cocoa and taking a tentative sip from it. Charlene sat on the opposite end of the couch, placing her own blanket across her lap and a book on the armrest. She took a sip of her coffee before setting it on the coaster. Today's a good day. Susie picked up her book and snuggled in to continue reading. Charlene did the same, tangling her legs with Susie's and surreptitiously peering at her above the pages of her front of her book. That is not what I typed. That's what I said. Okay. Many of her friends bemoaned the first day of hunting season and their husbands being gone, but Charlene relished it. The appeal of having girl time all weekend with her only daughter far outweighed any convenience of her husband being gone. It all depends on your outlook, she thought. I like my house being this empty, and I love the peace and quiet that isn't often present with so many boys running around. Bringing her attention back to her book, she spent the next couple hours lost in an imaginary world. As she was untangling herself from Susie, who had fallen asleep with her book on her chest, the phone rang. It surprised Charlene, mostly because nobody ever called the landline anymore. They'd only kept it because of the kids. Sometimes they left them home with the oldest in charge, and it made it possible to call without relying on the oldest to have his cell charged on and in his hand. At least that is what they discussed when the decision was made. In reality, the phone was never dead, turned off, or out of his hand. Hello? Charlene held the phone in one hand while she pulled the lunch meat from the refrigerator with the other. Mama? The youngest had a familiar whine to his voice that always appeared when he was frustrated, tired, or hungry. Hey, what's up, Jimmy? She grabbed the bread from the bread box and the mail from the fridge. I want to come home. It's cold. Daddy's making us eat venison, and I miss you. And then the timer went off.
Oh, how
Aw.
sweet. I love that.
I do love these little stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cozy. Such a cozy scene.
Do any of you still have a landline? I'm curious.
Nope. Well, no, I lie because we do have a landline, although there's no phone connected to it. I didn't even know if it would work because it was like part of our internet package because it
Oh.
was cheaper if you got it with the phone line because they
Yeah.
want you to have the phone line. So yes, it's here, but it does not work. And it's digital. It's not like the plug into the wall thing.
Just yesterday, I thought, I wish I still had a landline
Why?
because I can never find my phone.
Mm.
So I'm home alone. How many times have I Facebook messaged you guys in the group and said, can someone call me? I can't find my phone.
Why is there not a website that you can go to where
Several.
you type in your phone number and it calls you?
Isn't
Oh.
Go to
that
iCloud and find my
Maybe
phone.
there is.
Maybe there is.
There are
we should-
apps. I should just do that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then if you have your phone to use the app, you have your phone.
No, like you get on your laptop.
Oh,
You see, you get on your laptop and you would call your phone. But yeah, we should look. And if not, let's like be entrepreneurs and create that
That's
because
what
you
it's
guys will get
saying.
rich just from me doing it.
Yeah. We could
Oh.
make
And it's funny you say that
so much.
because I was at an estate sale the other day and I found one of the, you remember those old black Bakelite phones with the big old heavy handle?
I'm
that
way too
hung on the
young.
wall?
Way
Not
too
the-
young to remember that. Sorry.
You're-
Well, our phone had a cord that was like 30 feet long.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
And I found that for a minute, I wish that I still had a landline just so I missed the receiver.
We had a phone with a very long cord. As soon as you came in from the garage, I had the back door, and right there was the stairs to go down to the basement as well. And our cord was long, but it was really stretched out for me taking it
Mhm.
down the stairs for privacy, for my,
Ah.
so important conversations about
Yeah.
like, did you see what she was wearing today? Or no, most of my conversations were like, no, he doesn't like me. I know he doesn't. But wasn't he so cute today? Oh my gosh, he had his pants pegged. And like, did you see he had the steps inside of his head? He's so cute. That was all my conversations growing up.
Yeah.
Our line was not long, and I had to sit on the floor underneath the wall phone
Oh,
in the
yeah.
dining room with my parents right there. Like,
Yeah.
because the living room and the dining room were kind of one room.
We had a longer cord because my mother would be on the phone cooking or whatever, but then it ended up being a gnarled, like,
Yeah.
hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have to every so often unhook it and then just hold it and get it to like unravel
Spin and
itself for a
spin.
while. Spin, spin, spin.
John,
So, Tina-
Arana, I think that you can buy those receivers as, you know what I mean, that plug into your phone, but then you still got to carry your phone around. So
Yeah, one of my kids bought me one a couple years ago. They were just tired of hearing me talk about it. And they're lightweight. They're just cheap plastic and they don't come through very well.
they don't
I
have
was
the heft that you used to get from.
Exactly, because you can't slam down a cell phone like you can slam down one of those
You
10-pound
could, but
receivers.
you might have to go buy another cell phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
like
I've
even
never-
if you angrily hang up on someone, it's not satisfying.
Yeah.
You just be like,
Take that.
Oh golly. See, Tina, your story was so great because look at the conversation that it was so nostalgic without
Yeah.
being nostalgic. Like it's like right now and like
Mhm.
just like we feel like it was real. So that was awesome.
good job, Tina.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I don't
Okay.
care. Okay. We are nestled under blankets on our parents' worn sofa, watching old comedy classics. Our eyes are already moist from watching Larry crank the cow's tail in the Fine for Fishing episode. During the credits, there is some discussion of waking Dad to join us for the watch party, but he'd complained of a headache before lying down, so we decide against. We don't even consider waking Mom, who has never understood the appeal of these shows. Mo calls for Cotton. I laugh. My sister and I both reach for another handful of popcorn. I am aware of the soft scratching sounds of us moving the puffs around in the bowl, and it anchors me into the room. I realize that this is going to be one of those moments I will reflect on when I'm feeling lonesome for my sister, so I determine to take some mental snapshots. I examine her smiling profile, her long lashes, my mother's long pointed nose. We haven't always been close. She was the baby. In classic middle child form, I resented her. She grew into a pesky kid sister as I transitioned into womanhood, a dynamic which further strained our relationship. Once we were adults, however, our relationship changed. We found commonality in our faith and in our pragmatic outlook on life. We found that our shared history was not all bickering and silent treatments. We reminisced about long hours waiting in closets to jump scare one another and buckets of cold water poured over the tops of shower stalls. She still tells people how I was the one to teach her to read, and I blush as she tells it, my own recollections of those events fuzzy at best. I am still teaching her things, and now, during our 3-hour catch-up phone calls, she teaches me what she's learned of the world as well. I still want to beat people up when she tells me they've hurt her. I love her fiercely, I realize. What a blessing it is to have these moments to sit and laugh with her. Sorry. My heart feels full as I return my attention to the screen and the hospital's relentless hunting for doctors Howard, Fine, and Howard. Curly whoops and dances. A woman hiccups while she sings, and we both giggle again.
Oh, that was beautiful. I love that.
You cannot do that to me ever again. Like that.
Sorry.
Like it took me a minute to figure out that like it really was you and your sister until you got to like the pesky little sister. I'm like, oh, it kind of sounds like her. And then as you kept going, I was like, oh, and then so beautiful. Are you going to share that with her?
Well, maybe I will send it to her on her birthday.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's beautiful.
You
Unless
should
she
send her
watches
the
it.
clip of you reading it.
Yeah.
yes.
Because that would be so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And when is her birthday?
June 15th.
Oh,
Yes.
Too long to wait.
It's long.
maybe Sister Valentine Day.
Aw.
I think it might be good to do like on her birthday though, because she isn't someone to watch the podcast, so it'll be fresh to her.
Yeah. That's very sweet. I really enjoyed that, Jamie.
Me
I
too.
don't even have the words to express to you like how beautiful that was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks.
It makes me wish I had a sister.
Oh.
I always wanted a sister. My whole life I wanted a sister. So when God gave me 3 little girls, it was just so exciting to me. Like that they all shared a room for a long time, all 3 of them together. And we had a baby monitor because, we had a baby in there, and then they grew and we just kept the monitor in there. And when they were real little still, and I would just love listening to the little sister conversations that were just, I wish there was a way of recording them, because now that stage is over. They still have sister conversations. I just can't be part of it.
Oh, you're still not big brothering them, are you saying?
Yeah, exactly.
I know, right? I wish there was a way to record the conversations
Yeah,
my
there
children
is.
have on the baby monitor.
Well,
Nanny cam.
we just learned 2 nights ago that my middle daughter has been, because my oldest daughter is now in her own room, that my middle daughter has been reading that we have this book of lullabies that my aunt got them when they were little, and every night she reads a different lullaby to her little sister, and they've been doing it for can't tell you how long. And I didn't know that she has a little flashlight up there. They get in bed and they do it, and like,
Oh, that's really
Wow.
sweet.
yeah.
You
So
can buy
sister,
nanny cams like hidden in teddy bears.
Tina.
I'm not gonna
Hey, I
Oh.
originally, the reason I originally got a Facebook is because I had 3 teenagers on Facebook,
That's why I did it. Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
and I needed to be a big brother and spy on them, and I made them give me their login information and everything, so
Yep. Me too.
I could keep track of what they were up to.
Yeah. The
My
passcodes on their phones and everything.
My children also have to charge their cell phone. Their cell phones are not allowed in their bedrooms. At night, they charge in the family room, and they know that I spot check them because Like there's statistics that say how many suicides could have been prevented if parents would have just checked their social media or checked text messaging because of bullying that you don't realize is happening. And so I don't try to like get into my kids' business. I spot check, and they know that. Like I'm paying for it. So if you don't need a spot check, you don't get a phone. That's just how it's always been. So.
I used to do that too, but did you guys use that app where every text your kids got, it got sent to your phone? And okay, well, it's because it was totally made up, but my daughters totally believed all through like till like 9th or 10th grade.
That's not totally made up. There's actually an app now.
Oh, is there?
Because a friend of mine put that on her son's phone because she was having some issues with her son. So then she decided she had these suspicions. So she secretly put it on her husband's phone.
Oh.
And found out some stuff, and they're divorced.
Oh,
that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Well, my carrier, you can go through the carrier and they will give you, like you can say, I want the text messages from this phone from this date to this date, and they'll give it to you as the primary. And as the guy at Best Buy, when I was buying my son's phone and my daughter's phone said, under 18, they have no rights. Like that, he used to work for Protective Services. And so I'm like, okay, so over 18, if I own the phone, I pay for it, and he's just borrowing it. And he's like, well, technically, I'm like, I'm not searching his phone. I raised him, but I was just messing with the guy. So, all right. I don't know, Rhonda, do we want to follow that? Like that is just so unfair that either one of us have to go right after.
Why do I always get that one?
Do you want to go next? Or do you
Well,
want
to
I'll
be
go
honest,
next if you want me to.
Well, I want to hear Jen's because she was worried about reading it. And I've been sitting here wondering ever since you said.
I've been putting it off in case it's like something we need to end the podcast on really fast. So, Rhonda, you go first.
All right.
Okay. I kind of feel like me and Tina were on the same wavelength a little bit. We just kind of threw the words that we used up in the air, and a lot of similarities came down. Not the same story, two different people. But all right. This also is a continuation of the last exercise that we did.
Awesome.
So, all right. I'm aware this outfit is not appealing. I try to keep the emotion off my face. The look on my daughter's face would have made me laugh if I wasn't so exhausted. But this is the only cotton shirt that I have. I said that aloud to my daughter, but to myself I thought, how many years has it been since I was comfortable in cotton? I pushed the thought aside and the smile back on. Thankfully, these days I can smile around her again. I quickly remembered the hunting expedition we were about to embark on, and the smile fled again. I groaned, feeling like a teenager in this conversation, appealing to a motherly authority who was not budging. Ashley was fighting with her colic, threatening it with her flat iron, so I jumped at the chance to change her plans. If you're having a bad hair day, we can stay home. I just made a new batch of marshmallows. I hope the mention of her favorite homemade treat would convince her. I scrambled to find the movie I just rented in a pile on the counter. Look, I held up the DVD fresh from outside the drugstore. Redbox finally got the newest Somerville Saga in today.
Yay!
I reached around the corner and grabbed the huge bag of cheese doodles. I have snacks. Ashley's eyes lit up as she gasped and reached for the DVD. She drew her hand back quickly as if she'd been burned by a hot flame. Mother, listen to me. If you and Chuck don't hit it off tonight, we can end our double date early. We'll come home and watch this and drink hot chocolate all night long. How many marshmallows did you make? That's as far as I got. There was more I'm going to add.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
They're going on a double date. I have to know what happens.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That would be kind of a dream. Like, I mean, I would want to go with my husband, obviously, because I'm married. But like, for your daughter to go on a date with you like that, that'd be such a great relationship to have with her. Like, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now that Gina's married, we do go out, not as often as any of us would like to, but it is fun. They're a fun couple.
Mm-hmm. Last
they are.
New
She
Year's
is fun.
Eve, not this one that just went by, but the New Year's Eve before that, we went to like a mystery theater dinner thing with my daughter and her husband, like a double date kind of thing. It was really fun.
But
That's
I mean,
cool.
Imagine setting your mom up with someone though, like that whole dynamic of like, if it doesn't
a blind date, yeah.
Like, you trust her well enough to do that.
Oh man, I totally
Who knows
know.
you? Who knows you better though than your daughter?
Yeah.
Like, and she's gonna want someone really great for you. So it's not like when a friend sets you up, they know you really well. and they love you, including your flaws. And this other person they probably love too, including their flaws. So they're overlooking flaws. You know what I'm saying? Like where your daughter's like, he's not good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Well,
Oh,
and
that's
here's
awesome.
the thing too. Now I have questions. Like, I want to know, is she widowed? Is she divorced? Like, is the daughter like, dad was a jerk and, so let's find you someone better? Is the daughter like, well, sad that you didn't, like, I so want this to be a full thing so that I
Yeah.
can read it. I really like
me
it. for her.
too.
Mhm.
Although I can't imagine Mr. Wright being named Chuck. That's just me.
Well, I was trying to think of a name and I thought, well, there could be a lot of upchuck jokes.
Yeah. And she
Anyway.
could refuse to call him Chuck. She could call him Charles because she can't
Right.
stand that he's called Chuck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
That's
like your
cool.
shout out? Did you catch that?
Yes, I loved my shout outs. Cheese.
And the
I am
cheese
waiting for the
doodles
movie.
were great. Were
And
a great
Somerville,
add-on.
yes. Somerville Saga is the series name of my books, and Cheese Doodles feature prominently in book 2. Coming your way very soon.
Cannot wait.
Filled with frustration. You know how when you cook and you say, "Oh, this is really good," and you're like, the secret ingredient is love.
Yeah.
The secret ingredient in Jamie's second book of publishing is frustration.
I thought you were going to say cheese
Flavor.
doodles.
That too. That's not so secret.
Fun.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Good
All
job,
right,
Wanda.
Jennifer. I think we're in for a drastic turn.
Okay, so I'm sure it's not as bad as what I felt at first, but immediately when the words were given to us and we started writing, immediately I felt like it was going south. Like, I don't even know how else to say
Literally.
that. Because I write romance, but I don't write that kind of romance, right? So, but it didn't go south. It could have gone farther south. I told the ladies I felt like I was channeling William Faulkner a little bit, which his stuff isn't bad. I'm not actually a fan of Faulkner, so that's what's even funnier, but I've read a lot of his work. So anyway, I'm just going to read it. I'm not going to say anything more. Here it comes. I feel like I'm blushing. The thin cotton of his work shirt clung to his torso, sweat melting flesh to fabric. It was hot, Mississippi in the middle of summer hot, and although the hour had not yet reached midday, Jimmy's body was already drenched in sweat from laboring in the garden. She was too far away to know for certain, but she imagined that the level of perspiration he was producing must be accompanied by an equally heavy level of stink. She tried to focus on that thought, hoping it would bring an air of disgust to her palate, but unfortunately, the sight of James Groverton Pierce, covered in sweat just feet from her bedroom window, had more appeal than she wanted to admit. She watched him kneel near her mama's rhododendrons, his hands protected by a worn pair of leather gloves that had seen more work in their short life than Maisie had seen in her entire 22 years, dug around the base of the plants, hunting for what she didn't know. But whatever it was, Maisie was certain he would find it. Jimmy had never been a boy to give up. Maisie had that same drive, and it was one of the reasons she'd always been so drawn to the son of her father's foreman. It was foolish, she knew. She'd always known it was foolish to pine for this boy, now a man. He had never looked at her in his life, not even once. She thought that when she returned from studying abroad, having grown from the twig-light little girl into a woman of 22, she would at least be able to get a sideways glance from the man. But he hadn't as much as moved his head in her direction in the 2 weeks since she'd been home. And seeing how he had grown into a full-grown man in her absence, that attracted the attention of every female within 20 miles of Willow's Lane, the outlook for that changing did not seem good. So here she sat, drinking her morning tea and watching him garden and dreaming of the day that she would turn any man's head. So,
Oh, I love it.
so good.
I love her name.
Yeah, me too.
Good.
Mhm.
Yay.
Mhm.
That's such a good story. You were totally leading us down a wrong path.
Okay, so I think that the problem was my first sentence, and then the whole time I'm writing, I'm worried. Like, and, you know what I mean? Like, the thin cotton of his work shirt clung to his torso, sweat melting flesh to fabric. It could have gone really south from there on, right?
Yeah,
And
I
so,
wondered.
like, in my mind, I'm giggling already because I'm like, they're going to totally blast me the minute that I read this, you know? So,
Well, and
think that-
also, you know what Maisie is thinking.
Yeah.
And you did not write that, but you
Yeah.
know it. And so
Yeah.
That's
That
probably
first
it.
sentence though was a really good word picture though. That was
Mhm.
very
That's the
Popped
part
right in
that
my
felt
mind.
very light in August, William
Yeah.
Faulkner-ish. You know, it was hot, Mississippi in the middle of summer hot, kind of, you know. So that I really do like it, honestly.
when you
Like,
said that he was digging around in the dirt, I thought you were going to be like, she wished that he was putting his hands whatever. I was like, oh no, here comes the bad part. And it did
oh,
not
JB, I
come.
see why you don't write romance now.
Yes.
No, and I have no clue what he was digging around for, just weeds, I guess. But I had to use the word hunting.
So is this going to be a
Well, that-
contemporary then, or this is just something you're going to
No,
fiddle with to the side, or this is
Did it
done?
sound like a contemporary?
I thought
Because
it did.
in my mind,
maybe.
it was like the same time period that I've been working in. So here's the other caveat too. Like I came across on Netflix a movie version of a Tennessee Williams play that I guess they had found after his death or found recently, I don't know, called Loss of a Teardrop Diamond. And I'm like, oh, I'll take a watch. And the whole time watching it, all I can remember, I kept thinking back to when I saw my friend Christine, who was an actress. I saw her in Suddenly Last Summer, which is another Tennessee Williams play. There's so many similarities between the two. So like I'm watching it, and you can't watch Tennessee Williams without like being like emotionally like, oh, like the whole time you're watching. It's very for me at least. I'm like after the movie, I was just like, even though like there's nothing scary that happens and nothing like super dangerous, it's just it really pulls.
You're invested.
Yes, and so like that's still up here. So as I'm writing this out, that's what I'm seeing is that time period, and that character's name was Jimmy in that movie. And
well,
so,
I kind of felt it was either contemporary, like now, and she's somewhere where it's just like the internet service might be laggy like that, or I was thinking like 50s because the name Maisie and Jimmy, like it sounds very mod. Like 50s,
yeah, I had like an early
whatever.
50s scene in my head.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had like where the red fern grows, or like the Mockingbird kind of.
What a horrible
setting.
book.
I don't like where the red fern grows either, but that's like the 20s also, isn't it? The setting.
I'm not sure.
To Kill a Mockingbird is
That was
closer
like
to the
50s.
20s. Is it
Oh,
the
is
50s? It was the movie was made in the 50s.
Oh.
I think it was like the 30s or 40s.
Yeah, I used to teach that book, so I'm pretty sure. I know it wasn't the 50s,
My
but I
son
don't think
just
it was the
read
20s.
it. Either this fall or last spring. He just read it.
Yeah, that's one of
So
my
I don't
favorites.
remember. Yeah.
My 6th grade teacher read it to us throughout the school year, and I was devastated.
I think
did
we're talking
not
about two
know
different
that
books.
would happen in a book.
You're talking about Where the Red Fern Grows.
Yeah.
Right? I was talking about
To Kill a
Mockingbird.
Oh no, I love that book. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Where the Red Fern Grows either. I'm also not a fan of Mice and Men or
I like that one.
What's the one where they travel? It's during the Depression.
Oh, Grapes of Wrath.
Grapes of Wrath. 7 pages about a turtle crossing the road. Really,
I do not remember that, but that book made such an impression on me because it was so stinking bleak.
Yes.
It was just bleak. And so I thought that it was masterful in that it just told you that stuff is bad for these people. It's not ever getting any better for these people. And it just really made an impression on me.
Yeah. I read that book in 7th or 8th grade, and I distinctly to this day remember just like the taste of dust in my mouth.
And I completely agree with what both of you said. Like I think books are to entertain and to educate. And there's, not every book is going to accomplish the same thing. Like not every book's going to entertain. Some are there to educate you and to like grow you deeper as a person. And that's what that book is, I think, is to really educate you on what these people went through. Also to like educate, like to grow you deeper as a person. Like you said, like, I just think he could have done it more concisely. I'm sorry. I know he's a famous classic author, and I should be, but I don't, I do not like him. I don't like Steinbeck. I don't like, I'm not a fan. And I'm not a Faulkner fan, even though I had to read lots of his in college. It's not my style, but I digress.
Mhm.
So anyway, that was that. So I guess it wasn't as bad as I
Yay.
thought.
No,
So.
it was a very good job.
Thank you. All right, ladies, thank you for that. That was great. So I guess that about wraps up our show today. Thank you, everybody who joined us live. We had some viewers in with us live, no comments, but that's okay. And hopefully others will watch this later as well. If you're watching, again, like I said before, and you have any questions, please put them either down below in the comments or just reach out to us on social media. We'd love to talk to you and respond, even if we don't know the answer.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah. All right. And so next time, which will be next Thursday, may your pen always be prolific. May your deadlines be met. And may all of your words honor Christ. Bye-bye,
Amen.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.